Can employers limit how their employees use technology and social media? Joining us is Elliot Lassen, an industrial and organizational psychology professor. Thank you for being here.
It's great to be here, Jeff.
The technology is moving really quickly. New venues for online social media. Is the law keeping up with that?
Well, there are certain laws as it relates to the workplace in terms of the employer requesting access to anything that's not public in terms of one's social media. Also, as it relates to just technology in general, companies have started to restrict the use of technology, whether it's personal technology or personal use of the company's technological assets, and having something perhaps beyond just that screen that you click through, okay, I understand the policies, but having some sort of other monitoring.
So how would they do that? So if you were on a company computer, I guess easy enough to block it from going to Facebook.com or something.
Mm-hmm. I think a lot of it has to do with keeping the employee busy and performance management from the manager. Look, you have technology, you have surveillance possible, but I think in terms of the management of the person's performance by the supervisor, there are maybe walk-bys that the supervisor can do just to make sure that the employee is on task. So that's less technological and perhaps more interpersonal type of supervision. And I think that also has value just for the connectivity that the supervisor has with the employee, just making sure that the person realizes that they're on task.
Worth remembering that the company computer provided for you to work on while you're at work, or in some cases take home, remains a company piece of equipment, and anything you do on it is really theirs.
Absolutely, and that's important for the employee to understand, but the employers should also need to realize and not be naive that the individual might also have personal digital technology that they're using, such as a phone that they could be using either when in the workplace or working remotely.
Is there a difference if somebody brings their iPhone to work, and certainly certain secure facilities aren't going to let you do that, but assuming they do, is there a difference whether that device is connecting to a cellular network that the employee pays for, or whether it's connecting to the employer's Wi-Fi and basically on a company network? Would there be a difference there?
I think from a strict legal perspective, there might be a slight difference because if you're not using the company's property, you're not using the company's bandwidth, so to speak. You're using bandwidth that you've paid for. That might make a legal difference, but when you think about it, when the person is engaged in that personal technology, even if they're using a cellular network, they are using time when they're on the clock. So I think from a legal perspective, they also have some responsibilities to adhere within reason to their job responsibilities.
How about an employee who is very active on social media, or anybody who really posts anything after hours, but somehow referencing the company?
That's an important consideration. It's there is free speech that people have as a right. So companies have to be conversant with some of the laws that are associated with that. And one of the, I think, game changers that exists today for both prospective employees and current employees is something called Glassdoor.com. And Glassdoor is an opportunity for employees to talk about some things that they may be unhappy with at work, as well as candidates, people that have applied for jobs, interviewed for those jobs with that company that have had bad experiences, because that becomes public information at that point.
So you probably don't do that from the company computer, I'm guessing.
Probably would not be wise. It would not be wise to have anything that has your name in it either, but sometimes they can figure it out.
It's an interesting thing when you think about social media, because people know where you work. They know what university you're affiliated with. And if you wanted to post something, go Retrievers, on a personal account, sounds fine. If you wanted to post the opposite, down with fill in the blank university, that's when you start worrying about getting in trouble.
Well, there are obviously legal considerations, but there are also professional considerations. And I think that in many cases, professional considerations should limit the boundaries that you place on yourself and what you post. I think that one of the things that we have today in this hyper-connected world is this urge to post something very quickly and perhaps impulsively. And I think that the book has not totally been written in terms of the management textbook and how to manage technology, but I think that professional ethics and just professional concerns about one's persona should inform how frequently and what someone posts.
So from an employee perspective, good idea to be careful with this stuff. From an employer perspective, should you have a policy? Should there be a written document?
Companies are starting to develop social media policies, and they don't want to be draconian in most cases, but they want to at least have the employee understand that there's a certain responsibility as one is on the clock to post things that are relevant. Because social media today is just another form of communication and does definitely have an appropriate place within the workplace.
Professor Elliot Lassen, thank you very much.
Thank you.